Hey guys, I grew an outdoor hydroponic watermelon. Stay tuned and we'll show you how we did it. Okay, here's the tote for the hydroponic watermelon. I want to keep algae growth to a minimum, so I took the liner out, painted it black all the way down around there. Then I'm going to paint it white over the black so that doesn't heat up the tote and it kind of reflects some light. All right, there we go. I only had 2 cans of white, which didn't cover the black real well, but you know what? That's probably good enough. I just didn't want it like pitch black absorbing the sun, so we're going to have a chiller in there, so let this dry, we'll get it back in there, and then we're gonna put a float in there. We're gonna put an access door for a chiller and a sump pump. So like when we drain it, we'll just throw that in there. We won't keep it in there all the time. We'll just throw it in there, and we'll fill up the pumpkin totes, and we'll water that onto the pumpkin patch, and then we'll make a new nutrient solution in here. So, all right, here's the beginning stages of my hydroponic system for my watermelon. So the tote there, as you've seen some from the previous videos, we painted black, we painted it white, got some more white paint. And then I modified the lid to make a basket here to hold some rocks. So that's where the plant will be. That'll just screw right in there, no problem. And then we'll have to cut an opening yet for like the air stones to go in. And then we're gonna put a wort chiller in there. And then we can run water through that to cool the tote. So since I'm growing giant pumpkins, when I fill those tanks up, what I'll do is I'll run the water through that chiller loop, and then it'll cool this tank down, and then it'll warm the water up for my pumpkins. So it'll be kind of nice. I'm hoping just a couple degrees, it'll knock a couple degrees out of this, heat up the water a couple degrees for the pumpkins, and it'll be a nice trade-off, because otherwise this tank here, when it's just blowing air in there all day, aerating it, it's going to be blowing ambient air in there, and this tote is going to creep up a couple degrees every day or so, and eventually it'll get too warm. And when it gets too warm, it cannot keep the oxygen dissolved in there for the roots, or so I read. So keeping that thing between 60 and 70 is ideal, and we get above 70, it's going to be tough. So like in the summer when it's like 80 out and it's just pumping 80-degree air into that water, it's going to heat it up pretty quickly. So we're going to have to do something to cool it down. Now right now, while it's going on, it's fine. Like it's 70 during the day, it's 40 at night, so you got 30 degrees there. So I mean, really, you're gonna almost be a little too cool. So but it'll be a week or two before we get the plant out there. Like I said, it'll be good, I think, for the first few weeks, and then we're gonna need that chiller in there. So chiller's coming, air stone's coming. I got the big air pump before. I was gonna brew compost tea in the past, but I never did, so I got a really big air pump. So I got my wort chiller here. This is what's going to cool the tank. We'll run water through that as we fill my giant pumpkin tanks. I'm going to put a water filter on there. I cut the top open for the wort chiller here. All right, we got the hydroponic tote all geared up here. Don't mind that one little leak there. We'll fix that. I believe I have it set for normal operation. So water's coming in. We're filtering water through a string filter. This valve is open. And then this hose is going to get hooked to the bottom of the tank. See, it's just on the ground there. So this is just water fill. I turn that on. That's water fill for the tote. We're just going to fill through the bottom of the tote there. So now it's going to, this is still open here. This valve is open behind here. It's going to go down into our chiller. It's going to come back up out of our chiller here, blocked here, down there. And then this goes back around to the other, to fill the other totes up. So it looks a little confusing, but it's pretty simple. So like if I want to bypass the cooler, I just shut this one, open this one. Now we're bypass the cooler if I don't want to cool a tank anymore. So there you go, boom. All right, May 30th, we're gonna plant the watermelon, 206.5 Caspers. I added nutrients and pH adjustment last night, but I'm gonna double check it here before we put the plant in. We're gonna give her a shot. I have no idea what I'm doing, so let's get her put in. Then one thing I added, I haven't shown yet, is we got the aeration pump. This is key. There's our aeration pump. Comes up to this header here, and I got 4 air stones on there, pretty big air stones, and it churns it up pretty good. So anyway, we'll double check our pH, and I'll have to like kind of get them right. I'll have to rinse all the dirt off it and then get it in them rocks. I got like 5 more of these. I'm gonna just keep them alive because I have no idea how this is gonna work out. Like I had a failure last night. That pump, that hose didn't have a hose clamp on it, but it fit on there nice and tight. But that pump generates a little heat. That hose got a little soft, and it blew the hose off, and that would, I don't know if it would have killed the plant, but it would have made it really unhappy without the bubbles on there. It can't, after like 4 hours, the plant just starts suffocating. It's just like if it's waterlogged. So It wouldn't have been good. So luckily we caught that before we actually got going. So last night when I got done adding acid, I was at a 585 and I thought it might move a little bit, but it's 743. I'm gonna check here on my other meter. Maybe it's just, it won't take much to move it, but this doesn't seem right. All right, it didn't take much acid at all, only a couple ounces, and it knocked it from like a 740 to a 5.6. So there's like no buffering capacity in there. I was worried, I was like, holy crap, how much more acid do I gotta add? So I think I initially put about like 30 ounces to knock it down to a 5.8, and then I just needed another 4. It reverted up. So and then I'll show you here, I think our EC is about 2.0, a little over 2. So we'll see what that ends up doing there. All right, we're gonna get the plant in there. All right, so here's a little watermelon with the roots washed off on it. And we'll get her in there and we'll have to figure out our water level. I already drained some out of the tank because it's so high. Like, eventually I think I'm gonna lower this tank a little bit more. All right, our watermelon's doing good. She hasn't grown a ton, but we're doing all right. I adjusted the pH a little too far last night and it's a little low, but should be okay. I noticed like we had some days like in the 70s and this tank was up to like 69. A lot of people told me I needed to bury this tank. Thinking that might be the case, but for now we're gonna just rock it like this and we're gonna think about if we need to bury the tank. So far so good. We need to get some fast growth out of it. We're like way behind. I should have started the plant earlier, but they told me it was gonna grow twice as fast with the hydroponics. So maybe when it gets its roots here, we'll get cranking here. But I think we need to pollinate within 30 days here. It's June 1st today. I'd like to pollinate by July, which is probably kind of late for melons, but so we got about 30 days of plant growth and we're basically starting at nothing. So we're just gonna watch them tank temperatures, make sure the water temp don't get too high. What happens when the water temp gets too high is you get root rot and there's not enough oxygen in the water and the plant can't survive. So that's why people bury them in the ground. It just regulates the temperature of the tote. They get too, even with painting it white and everything, I can see that it's probably going to be a problem. But so I decided we were gonna have to dig that tank in the ground. It was the only way to keep the temperatures under control. All right, I hooked a pump up to the tote here. We're gonna drain this tote down. I'm gonna put it in my pumpkin watering system. I'll water the pumpkin. Then what I did was I just put some of the solution in a 5-gallon pail here. So this will give us plenty of time to move this tote. That can sit in there, I mean, that could sit in there for days. But it's kind of raining out now, so we'll get this tote emptied and then we can get it fitted in. We're gonna have to move this watering thing and I'm gonna get a cap on there. And I was wanting to tape that shut with this rain though. I don't know if I can get some tape on there. We'll wanna get that sealed shut because I'm gonna move as much dirt as I can with the loader. And I don't want dirt getting in the tote because we ain't gonna be able to get it out real well. So sometimes you ever think to yourself, man, what am I doing with my life? I'm gonna grow a watermelon hydroponically. Dig a big hole. Waste a Saturday. Sounds good to me. All right, guys, as you've seen, we got the tote dug, we got the tote buried, we got the tote. It's actually sticking about a foot above ground level, but lots of dirt packed on there. This is a taller tote than normal. Normally, like those water totes are 275s. This tote is a 330. This thing goes way down in there. But like right now, filling it, I'm already at 1 hour and 40 minutes of filling it. So when I drain and refill, we're gonna have to do something there, like spray the roots with nutrient solution while we're doing that or something. But I think what I'm thinking is we should be able to get it pumped out in a reasonable amount of time. We can get a good size sump pump. But the filling thing kind of sucks, and I don't want to fill from my other tanks because they're full of algae and junk. So I might just get another tank right next to this one above ground. And what we'll do is we won't even paint it up or anything because we'll just fill it like the day before. And then we'll pH adjust it, fill it with nutrients. And these have like a 2-inch outlet on them. and then we'll just run a 2-inch pipe over and we can just fill it up really quick. We'll get the pH adjusted, and then we'll see what it kind of looks like in the morning. We'll add nutrients and do another pH adjust. And the watermelon's over in a 5-gallon pail right now. It looks fine. So we'll get this all adjusted, then we'll get it in there. And then with this watermelon being small, we should be good for 3 weeks. All right, I moved the aerator over to the big tote. We got that all adjusted and everything. And we'll get this thing in there. It's got a little brown spot on the leaf. I don't love that. Here we got the watermelon buried in the ground. I'm just showing you the bubbles there from the pump. Oh, we'll shut the pump off so it's a little quieter here. All right, giant watermelon is buried. Tank's about 58 degrees. Gonna get up to 80 today, so we'll see how much that raises the temperature. All right, guys, we got the watermelon. It's finally doing good. The air temperature is up. She's green. She looks happy. She's growing pretty good. But like today was 90. Tomorrow's gonna be 90, Wednesday's gonna be 80 something, but the overnight's in there like 74. This tank did get up to like 70.1 today, which is about where we want our upper limit at. So what I did is I put some insulation on top there just to kind of keep it from getting a little too warm during the day. But it's cooling off at night, you know, with the tank being in the ground. So I think as long as we don't get above 72, we're pretty good. That, you know, 70 range is kind of all the higher you want to get, and 72 you're going to start maybe having problems. But I got the beneficial bacteria in there that the guys swear in the hydro world you can get away with a little higher temps. So we got that in, and then I bumped the nitrogen up, and then with the warmer air temperatures and maybe the warmer water temperature, the melon's looking good. Am I terribly behind? Yes. I started some field pumpkins in order in case this thing didn't go, but I think it's looking good now. That I'm hoping, it's been growing pretty fast actually, that we can gain some ground, still get something. I don't want to abandon it, but then, you know, next year we got a lot of ideas and things in place to do this a lot better. So it's all learning there. And all right, guys, we got our hydroponic watermelon. We got a little sand area for it to grow. The thing's looking good. Showing you here this tote I got set up. So when I do my nutrient change, we'll drop a sump pump down in the access hole here. We'll pump it over to my pumpkin water tanks. You can see my pumpkins there, about 100 some pounds right now. And then when that tote is drained, this tote is the same size. It's a 300 some gallon tote. We'll have it completely full of nutrients, pH adjusted, and then we'll have it warmed up with the solar energy of the sun and just dump it in there. It's probably going to take about 15 minutes to pump out, I'm hoping, and then it's only going to take a few minutes to drain that through a 2-inch line. So otherwise, if I filled like the tote that the watermelon's in with a garden hose, it's going to take like 5-6 hours to fill. Plus I'd have to pH adjust it, add the nutrients while the roots are still in there and whatnot. So this is going to be way better. I'm going to put a couple of stakes in the ground, stake it down, because most of the time this thing's going to be empty. So like what we'll do is we'll probably target a nutrient change next Saturday. And so I think like Wednesday night I'll fill the tote up. Thursday we'll pH adjust it, nutrients. We'll put an air pump. I got a spare air pump. I got this one off right now so you can hear me recording. We'll put a spare air pump in there, because then whatever the ambient temperature is, the air pump adds like 10 degrees to it, so that'll help heat it up. Solar energy will help heat it up. And then 2-3 days on Saturday, that tote will be ready to rock, and then we'll test out our pumping. I'm gonna run a sump pump into my sprinkler pump and then pump over there, and I should be able to do it in 15 minutes. So I'm hoping to stay under 30 minutes there so I can refill it quick and should be good to go. Anyway, I got the nutrients all mixed up in there, pH adjusted, and we're getting ready to fill the tank back up. It's already drained here. You can see all the roots in here. We're gonna hit that up with a little hydrogen peroxide to make sure we don't got any rot going on. Looks like I can see a spot or two maybe that there is a little bit. So we'll get that all fixed up and then refill her, and she should be good. All right, we got the roots sprayed down with some hydrogen peroxide, and I'm transferring the nutrient solution back in there. So hopefully we kept a little bit of that rot at bay. So funny, like I can see the color on the melon. It kind of looks like a shadow there. That's where the t-shirt is, Ned. It's darker green. You can see it on the back too. Hard to see, but like that's a little darker. That's where the t-shirt's not at when I got the t-shirt on it. Obviously we took it off for you guys so you could see my melon. All right, we got our giant watermelon here. It's doing pretty good. The scale says 115, but I think it's just over 100. The scale's kind of goofy a little bit. We're doing probably our last nutrient change here. I've been going about 3 weeks, and I can tell the plant looks kind of goofy. We've got about 3 to maybe 4 weeks left. So we took it to the weigh off, and it weighed 133 pounds, which wasn't too bad. All right, guys, here's the roots on my hydroponic watermelon. You've seen at the weigh off, we did 133 pounds, not bad. As you see, we got some brown in these roots. We got to address that next year. Problem is, I kind of pulled some of these out, but there's just like one big clump after it like dropped down, and like I don't think they were getting the air they needed. So I think I need to build like a little tripod inside the tank so that like the roots can follow ways down, because what it ended up, it just all balled up in one spot, so it's hard for, I think, the air and stuff to get in there when I got a thick mat. And then when I went for nutrient change and I like spray hydrogen peroxide, I couldn't, you know, get it into the root zone real well. So you can see our little basket we made there and the stump on there, and but you can see some of this, like this right here. Look how it's just kind of, I had to cut it to get out of the tank, but yeah, it's just kind of brown and a little bit of sliminess, and I don't know that it's all that bad, but we'd be more apt to see some nice white roots on there. So, and I think if I make that structure in there for the roots to go on, what happens is when I drain the water, all of a sudden the roots aren't floating in the water anymore, and it pulls really hard on that upper cup there. So I guess that's all she wrote. Should be able to get 200 pounds next year. Got some ideas, and I think I'll clean this tank out a little bit and call her the year.